All right, we're live Thursday for Up on the Bars discussion. We have a special guest hopping on here tonight. We're going to run our intro and then we'll hop into it. All right, joining me on the show tonight is somebody I met last summer down at Bakersfield for the first time. We've chatted numerous times on Facebook and been a part of conversations, but I got to meet him when he ran Lyle Hopper's Pro Stock down at Bakersfield. Welcome to the show, Robby Sawyer.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit off air, and he was laughing. He's doing his show from a strictly undisclosed location, and I got a chuckle out of it. He goes, "Man, I'm over at my friend's house, and their kids are rooming. He's in detention for the show today."
I'm hanging out in a 5-year-old's room. I got all sorts of toys here and fun stuff. I guess.
I got to laugh because when we started and he didn't even realize he was doing it, you can tell he's a racer. He had a Hot Wheel in his hands playing with the Hot Wheel the whole time we were talking offline. So if it's about racing, he's involved.
I suffer from a little bit of ADHD, so my hands and my feet usually never stop moving.
Well, I think we all suffer from that, and he was laughing. We may cut it short tonight because he's got 12-hour shifts. I know he's working in the oil field, and that sucks just about as bad as driving a truck. Probably a little worse because you got to be outside. So we'll leave it at that. So
I'm pretty fortunate. I actually don't work in the oil fields anymore. I took over a management position, so my phone just doesn't stop. It starts at about 2:30 in the morning, and I've already cleared 3 phone calls since you've been live. So.
Yeah, well, and here you go. Here's Davey Munoz jumping in. You were asking about seeing the comments. There he goes. Hey, you guys. So, hey, Davey, thank you for looking. I can't see everybody that's on here and who's watching. I think Stacy was going to be watching, Stacy Bartlett. We already got up over 50 people on here, so I know you were very popular. So I want to start off. I got to watching Robby's Facebook page, and he's, I guess saying controversial might be the right word, but I don't think it really is. But when he sees incidents, he always jumps in and has an opinion, and you'll know what it is. So I want to ask you what your take was on Gray Ferrando and Colin Weinberger at Vegas. Because Gray was probably one of the biggest shows we had when he came on here, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I just... Well, one, I kind of plot a little bit, so I try to rile everybody up when they have an altercation. So when that whole deal went down, at the end of the day, both of those guys are my friends, but I'll constantly poke at them. That's why if you saw, I made like a little picture when Gray spun out at Coca-Pon Hot Laps, and I made it like Colin. A lot of that's about 50% of it me having fun, and 50% is alcohol influenced. And as I sit here and I have me a cocktail myself, but at the end of the day, that incident, Colin Weinberger, was wrong for multiple reasons. But I still like Colin, and Colin and I have a couple of the same tendencies, so it's okay.
So, well. And I'm going to say something. I watched you race at Bud Nationals. I got a little chuckle out of your car because you put new sheet metal on the right side, but you didn't bother to spruce it up. So you took duct tape and duct taped some letters on it. I'm not sure. I don't remember what it said. You want to share with that because that was kind of funny.
That was that low budget. Those guys that run that low budget, they're just good friends of mine. I met them when I was racing in Irwindale, and I was young. I was 19, 20 years old. And they were kids. They were like 14, and they used to wear these big styrofoam cowboy hats. And they would walk around with like a big fake styrofoam microphone and interview. Well, anyway, over the years, they became truthfully the best broadcasters that you can get live broadcasting, because they just screw up half the time. They talk shit the entire time. They could care less, and they just have a good time. But they love racing. They have a passion for racing, which is huge in my heart. So they, I was bored that night, and I thought it'd be funny to put the low budget TV on the side of the car. So we race a little bit on a budget. So we just had a solid white side. I couldn't really afford to wrap it, and
Right.
I was having a little fun. Didn't matter. I got wrecked out of the deal anyway. So
Yeah. Well, and that, that's what I'm saying. And we talked a little bit, and I don't always be the smart ass that I am everywhere. Somebody says low budget TV on here, and Jake Archibald says win the show or be the show. Best slogan ever.
that's on
Ron
my shirt.
Crisafulli, howdy guys. Bill Hall the third, hi guys. And when like I said, I got so many pages watching this with low budget TV, so I'm sure it's one of those guys.
It is awesome. Dude. It's awesome.
Well, and honestly, that's why I started doing this show, is because, dude, I love racing. I love everything about racing. I like being in the pits. I like driving the cars. I'm not very good at it, but I have fun doing it. And then we morphed into the whole tri-state thing. And we moved on to all of that stuff. And I started doing this just because it's just fun talking. I mean, in all sincerity, it's a lot of fun just to get on here and talk and hear everybody's stories. Because your passion for racing is not any different than just what you mentioned with Gray Ferrando or Colin Weinberger, or pick a name out of the hat, and everybody feels that way. I mean, and at the end of the day, we're all racers. We all go to have fun more than anything. I don't think anybody's setting out to become millionaires racing. And if they are, I think we're all in the wrong game, because I don't think that's going to happen. So that brings me to the post you made this week about your racing series, or your racing this summer. Tell us a little bit about that, because I thought that was kind of a neat little press release.
Well, my entire life we've raced. When I got married, it's me, my dad, and my wife, right? My dad's always been my number one supporter, the foundation of Sawyer Racing. Okay, so moving forward, in 2016, I started driving for Dobie Hagar. I drove for him for a few years, and then we were done. Me and Dobie are still great friends to this day. I see him 2 or 3 times a week getting coffee. And then I started driving for Calvin, which Calvin is more like family to me. That's Jason Nation's father-in-law. So backstory, I'm an only child, no brothers, no sisters, no half, no anything. Jason's the closest thing I got to a brother. There's 3 of us. There's Jason and Chris and myself. So we're like the 3 stooges. We've all been in each other's weddings. Actually, Jason wasn't even invited to mine. Long story there. But anyway, Jason's like my little kid brother. His father-in-law owned our race cars for the last few years. That's at Woodworks. And Jason moving to Texas this year and selling out on the racing program. Calvin didn't want any more to do with the racing. So we decided just to do this one more year. And that was what my post was about. I have knocked on doors my whole life. I've gotten local sponsors to help support my racing. And I told my wife, let's just do it one more year. Let's give it everything we got. And at the end of this year, we'll either decide to never race again, or I will drive for somebody. But as far as a 198 car rolling onto the track every week is probably not going to happen. Not out of my shop anymore. So this is it. We're going balls to the walls for the last year. We're going to give it everything we got. And that's why I've kind of been on my Facebook advertising a little bit about my sponsors and sharing some old pictures and memories. I want everybody to understand. I actually had this talk with my wife today that you can be competitive at this level and race out of your garage without a double stacker, without a full sponsorship. You just have to be smart. You got to make smart and wise financial decisions, which are things that we've done. And you got to be careful about where you go race. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't be where I am racing without the help of multiple sponsors. And the 2 people that I've been fortunate enough to drive for, being Dobie Hagar and Calvin with Woodworks. So
yeah. Well, and speaking of all that, you were asking about it. We got Austin Robertson says hello. Lyle Hopper, hello. Ron Christofuli, howdy guys. Keith Coburn, hi from Tulare. Jay Bryant, which I have to give a big shout out. Jay Bryant and myself just started that streaming service, Speed Union TV. Give shout out. Jay is a huge supporter of racing anywhere and everywhere on the West Coast, and just like that. So thanks, Jay. Jay's Mobile Welding. Yeah, you hear us talk about him all the time on here. Joshua Johnson, sup boys, and then so got a lot of people tuned in and all that stuff. But where are you planning on racing mostly this summer? Do you have an idea where you're planning on racing? Do you have any big events that you're planning on hitting?
The way we do our racing is we get the car ready on Monday and we'll find somewhere to go race. So as far as some things that I would like to do, I have never went to Boone. I've raced for 21, 22 years. I've never done the Boone thing. It's definitely something that I'm humoring this year for the first time. We have a lot of friends that live back in that area that have offered to give me a place to stay or a place to work on the car. But as far as racing, I'm going to do what I've always done. I'll support local dirt racing in California. I will go to any big, well-paid event that doesn't require a lot of money to get into. And we probably race 40, 45 times this year, just like we normally do.
Well, I'm going to mention one. They have the R. Charles Snyder, because Travis has asked to do that, so I'm going to do it. 7,000 to win, 700 to start for IMCA Modifieds at Southern Oregon Speedway. He'd like to have all you guys come up and support that one if you would do that. They want to build that up into
Memorial. Is that the weekend?
I think so. I'm not sure of the dates on it. I'd have to look on their schedule. I don't have it right in front of me. So, and Troy and Kim Bernhardt asked.
I went to it.
Okay, well then that answers the next question. It says, has he raced at SOS and his opinion of the track? So,
Is that where
Southern Oregon
Speedway
Speedway
race is, right? SOS.
Right.
I think
At
that's
Medford.
where I went. It was a shithole. It was a shithole. The first night it was a muddy, hammer down mess, and the next night it rubbered up, and Colin Weinbarger and I beat the shit out of each other for 50 laps, and I got fifth, and it paid great, and I had a wonderful time. So yeah. The Oregon deal, I actually would love to come up and do Speed Week this year. That is something that if they have it, the Willamette deal and all that, I would like to come up and support that this year. I have a lot of vacation at work, so that's a huge possibility that getting time off of work and going racing is easy for me now. So I can take off whenever I want. It's just
I know they do have speed weeks going on this week at Southern Oregon and Willamette, which that's another. I was just talking to Corey, that is the promoter of Willamette, just a little earlier on the phone before they was up there. I know they're running there and all that. So definitely, I know they would love to have you there. And then Rob Waldrop, that's one true race car driver right there. And then now that he's on here, and I know he's on here, we're going to get the story, because he said there's a really good story. Jerry, Mr. Controversy Bartlett. What's up, guys? Robbie and I go way back. He is like my mini-me, Junior Controversy. Always fun watching him on and off the track. All right, so I have to ask, what is the story of the first time you met Jerry Bartlett? Because you were laughing about that one.
I was a kid. We were racing in Merced. I want to say my wife had just had our first kid, so that was 13 years ago, so however old I was. And something happened in a driver's meeting or something. I would have to ask. He might remember it better. And I started talking shit in the middle of a driver's meeting. And I remember he came over to my pit afterwards. And he said something. He made a comment about my wife. And I think he told me, just so you know, your wife would be a bigger supporter of me than you any day or some shit. And I just said, okay, well, that's funny. So since then, Jerry's another guy that Jerry was like the OG Facebook post guy. He used to get on these Facebook posts and he'd go live and he'd be like, "What's up, Facebook?" And he would just talk shit, and it was awesome. And And he actually was kind of the reason I used to get on my Facebook and go live and talk a little shit. So he's definitely been. He was he used social media in the right way, and used it to advertise racing. And anybody like that's got my vote.
You know, it's funny you said that because I'm going to tell you, this whole Facebook Live stuff came as a result of Jerry Bartlett with the Pro Stocks up there in Oregon. He's the one that got this started and got me started doing these videos. I know shit about, pardon my language, I know nothing. I have no broadcasting background. I have no nothing. I'm a truck driver. I was a mechanic in the Navy. I don't know squat. They finally allowed me to have Facebook Live started on it. And then on top of it, when we launched the Tri-State, my wife made the Facebook page. Jerry made an announcement out it. And my wife called me the next morning. She goes, "What the hell did you do?" My phone went off all night long. I was like, well, JB talked about the Tri-State. And once he did it, our shit blew up overnight. I mean, like from 10 people to 500 by morning. And it was all from JB. So, JB is the best promoter in motorsports on the West Coast if he would just get up and do it, but he doesn't want to do it. And I get that. It's a pain in the ass. And then you got Doug Lockwood. Sawyer never talks shit at drivers' meetings. That's
I've
something that stuck out.
I haven't talked no shit.
Now, I'm going to back you up right there because you made an impact at the Bud Nationals when we were announcing somebody wanted to do a trophy dash and give away some cash. Robby's not even racing with the Pro Stocks, jumped in, started telling us how stupid what we're doing. Then he goes, "Never mind, I'm not even running that class. Why the hell am I talking? I don't got nothing to do with it." So I know that's not true. So, but okay, so now I ask this question all the time, and I know you're race modified, you're involved in it. I want to get your honest take because you've been racing for a while. I know you've raced open motors. You went to crate motors. Tell me your thoughts on the logic of the crate motor. Was a great logic. Did it do what they set out to do? That's my question for you.
I race. So anybody that I go over this on any radio broadcast, any interview, anything, I go over this. So it's kind of like beating a dead horse. I race off my winnings. I race off sponsorship. I have a good paying job, and I do not touch my paycheck to race. Okay?
Right.
So remember that when you see me at a racetrack, $0 comes from my Monday through Friday job. It's either winnings or sponsorship. Every penny. So with that being said, 75 nights to be rebuilt, and it was destroyed. I annihilated it. It was a piece of shit. It smoked. I rebuilt it. I paid $4,700 last year and rebuilt it. I shouldn't have. I should have just bought a new one. I rebuilt it. My longest built motor, maybe 25, 30 nights. The crate motor for a guy like me, financially, is 100% the best thing in auto racing. It is. I am such an advocate for crate motors. The tire thing is where I have an issue. But I went over that with the street stocks, the modifieds. You don't stand a chance because it's a sanctioning body out of Iowa. But the crate motor is awesome. It's awesome. Guys like me that don't have a lot of money, we can go to the racetrack, race every week, and motors are not our concern.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a fan. I had built motors. I won more races with built motors than did crate motors because crate motors just leveled out the field. It took a little bit of driver out of it, which is fine. It actually the crate motor actually cost the racer more money because everything else became so important. So the motor saved the racer money and the motor cost the racer money. Now shocks, tires, your normal setup stuff became so important. With a built motor, when you had 650 horsepower, you just had to be close and then drive the car. Now everybody can put the power to the track, and it really leveled out the playing field. So now the tires and the shocks and everything else that costs money became so much more important. But still at the end of the day, the what's up, dude? The crate motor. We got a naked kid walking around in there.
He's telling you to
running
get out of the
around looking for
room.
his toys. So the crate motor at the end of the day was better for your Saturday night racer, which is what 99.9% of us are.
Right. And I agree with that, and that's my assessment, and I've said that all. You have everybody on an equal motor platform, but now every little tiny tenth of a second you can gain anywhere in there. If a part costs $100 normally, but you can buy a $200 save a tenth part, now that becomes more important than the motor. That's just my honest opinion, and I may be wrong.
I loaded up and drove all the way to South Dakota for 2 nights of racing, and it didn't even bother me. And
Right.
that's because I don't have to worry about driving all the way out there and blowing up in hot laps. For the majority of it, for the most part of it, you don't have to worry about it. The drivetrain portion is not your worry anymore. You can show up and race and go home.
Yeah.
A lot of guys used to blow a motor, and they were out for months before they could fix it.
That's kind of I know that feeling. So Corey Pinfold, which is now the promoter at Willamette Speedway that you mentioned, Robby is as real as they come. If you don't like him, you can't be trusted. So now, sexy Stacy, JB's wife, Jerry is laughing right now. Listen to Robby. I'll say that the first time I saw Robby was in a video from the track. And man, he was a dick, but it was freaking funny. Jerry had told me all about him. I wish the old controversial Jerry and Robby would come back for one last rendezvous this year. Oh, and Robby has by far the best eyebrows at any racetrack.
I get my eyebrows done, and a lot of people know that.
Yeah. So I'm fixing to pull JB out right now. Say, you know what? We will get a rendezvous with Robby and JB. Bring your pro stock out. We'll get Robby and Lyle's pro stock, and it may not be in modifieds, but they can certainly race together. We will make that happen. And speaking of pros,
I had fun driving Lyle's car. That was a good time.
Yeah. Speaking of that, can you ask him what he thought about racing the pro stocks? That's from Billy Simpkins. Oh, can you ask if he's thought about racing pro stocks? Sorry.
Nope. I'm gonna tell you, this is it. This is you guys see that movie with the bowls about the last dance? I was telling my wife the other day. It's kind of where I'm at. This is it. I'm not gonna drop down and go race anything. I don't. You ask anybody, I absolutely never. So I've been racing since I was 6 years old. Raced bikes, raced go-karts, and then went to cars. Never have ever raced for fun. Okay, I don't have fun. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass and say I love race. I don't enjoy it. It is 100% an addiction to me. It is not a game, not a joke, not funny. I work Monday through Friday for my family, and the weekends are mine. I race, and it's not a fucking game. It's not something that I don't even think I enjoy racing, to be completely honest with you. You can't drag me to a racetrack to watch it. I don't even like it when I'm there. I like winning. I like being better than everybody. So the nights that I actually do win and I'm better than everybody, that's what I live for, is that feeling. It's arrogant, it's conceited, it's narcissistic, and it is absolutely, without a doubt, what I strive to is the feeling I get. Take the checkered and you go around 1 and 2 and you drop your window net down the back straightaway and you realize you won, and that no matter what the outcome was, you were better than everybody that night. I live for that feeling. It's something that you cannot describe. It has nothing to do with my passion for racing or anything like that. It's I live for that rush. That it's an adrenaline rush to me. So as far as street stocks go, I don't race for a hobby. I don't race for fun. I drove for Lyle. Lyle was an amazing individual, one of the nicest men I've ever met. Just a great human. And I got there, I got in his car, and we were fast all night. And I think we made a couple wrong changes for the main event, and a couple were just a lack of experience in my being back in that driver's seat and what I wanted to feel, and then a communication barrier between the two of us. I mean, I think we ran third or fourth, and in what I would say was a knife to a gunfight. But as far as building a street stock and racing a street stock ever again, no. Did I have fun? It was another night of racing. I did not win, so no. The answer is no. If I don't win, I want to go home. I want to go home, and I want to go to bed, and I want to go to work, and then I want to win. So it's the racing and how people race for fun and a hobby and all that, it does not fit into my lifestyle or how I feel about it. It can ruin the way that people look at racing if once I described it.
Yeah. Well, Doug Lockwood asked, will you come be a race official or tech official when you retire from racing?
I won't be affiliated with racing if I'm done. So at the end of this year, I'm done here in the thin air. I won't even go to the racetrack. I won't watch. I won't support it. And it comes because I sell my house, my cars, ruin everything I got in my life to fill that rush. So when you talk to a drug addict that gives everything, it's terrible to say this. When you see a guy that's a drug addict that loses everything he's got for that fix, there's no difference between me and that person. And when I decide that I am done, I am gone. Nobody will see me. So if an opportunity arises for me to drive somebody else's race car, I'll strap in and I will go. But as far as being affiliated with racing day in and day out on my own, I won't be able to do it because there won't be a way to stop me once it gets to that point. I'll drain my bank account. I'll go right back into it. And I can't do that. Not with two girls getting ready to go to college and a dad and a husband and all that comes first. It's hard.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, I haven't won a main event, so I don't know that feeling. But I know the feeling of knowing that you don't have the best car in the field, and because I don't. But when you beat that person that has a whole lot more than you, that is what the closest I can equate to it. And you're right. You do whatever it takes to get to that point. And when we get my car finally out on the track, it's not going to be like, it won't be like a car. It may be like a driver, but it won't be like a car. So this will be the first time. So now it's either produce or shut up time now. That's what it boils down to. It's either you suck as a driver and you need somebody to drive, or that's where it's at. And now somebody says, man, hit the nail on the head there. Lyle said second sucks, just win. Then somebody else, if you ain't first, you're last. That's never been a more true movie statement than what it is. And I think that's everybody will laugh and joke. Well, I'm just out here to have fun. No, you're not. You're out there to beat the next person in front of you. I don't care if you don't have the top tier equipment. You're out there to not finish last. And that's any racer. I mean, you may not have the best equipment or know what you're doing, but your goal is beat the next person in front of you. And then Doug Lockwood, I'm going to mail you a razor, Sawyer. You look ridiculous. So that's from Hello Fast Freddie Hayes. So there you go. Now, so what got you started into racing to begin with? I mean, there's always something that got you to the first tier. Was it?
My dad raced. My dad raced in the 80s. I think he started in 79, actually, and he raced. Back in the day, I mean, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, but back in the day, there was two divisions. You had street stocks, which were hobbies, and you had pro mods, which are street stock late models. And that's all there was. I raced, and I was 6 years old, and I said, hey, there's a BMX track. Why don't we race there? And he's like, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, I want to race. So I raced bicycles. I got old enough, and I said, hey, they race go-karts. And he's like, yeah. I said, I bought one. So worked and saved money my entire life. If I was 8 years old and I picked up the neighbor's mail and they gave me $5, I didn't spend it. I am the most tight, no money spending, frugal. I don't I don't spend money. I don't like to. I like to save it until I want to use it on what I want to use it on. So I said, Dad, I bought a go-kart, 14 or 13. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, this guy had a go-kart for sale. I rode the Get Bus. My parents wouldn't take me. And being an only child, I learned to be independent. I got on the Get Bus. I rode the Get Bus to the guy's house, and I gave him a deposit of $150. I'll never forget. Monty Hammett was his name. And I went back home. I said, Dad, I bought a go-kart today for $500, but I can't afford to pay for all of it. I met him on camera ads. I bought my first go-kart. I paid this guy, what would that be, 3 installments of $150 if I did the math.
Right.
And we got the go-kart, and we went and raced, and I won my first night out. My dad's like, well, then I got in trouble in school. I was a pain in that. I hated school. And my dad wouldn't let me race. Because at the end of the day, still my dad, he wouldn't let me race. And from that, I sold the go-kart. I said, let's go buy a car, hobby stock. He said, I don't want you to race at Mesa Marin. I want you to race at Bakersfield Speedway. He said, I don't know nothing about pavement. So that's fine. I don't care. I just need to race. And we bought a race car from a guy named Lee Ullman. That was actually a Scott Pounds built hobby stock for, and it went from Scott Pounds to Dave Bauer. Anyway, we bought this car, and I was a sophomore in high school. That was it. I raced full seasons that year and never looked back, and never went to a school dance, never went to a school outing. I've missed everything from every wedding and funerals and everything else you can imagine, birthday parties, and I've raced ever since then. That's it. That's pretty much the end of it. My dad tried to talk me out of it the entire time.
Yeah. Well, and I know we're talking about sponsors, which I have to run one for Workman Communication here. He's one of the sponsors of the show here. So,
tired of calling multiple companies to complete your low voltage projects? Minimize the hassle by calling Workman Communications, your locally owned one-stop shop for all low voltage needs. We tackle everything from commercial and residential data, telephone cabling to access control installation, CCTV, alarms, and audio-video solutions. With no job too big or too small, we'll ensure your project will be completed to your standards with precision quality results. Let's start a new project together.
and I know you said you'd play it by ear. We're right up on the 30-minute mark. So if you want to keep talking, we'll keep talking. If you want to get off here, it's up to you. So, but
you're good. We're rolling with it. You're good.
All right. So, but yeah. See, dude, I grew up. We went to a dirt track in Carlsbad, New Mexico. My cousin ran in it. They took me for a ride around. It was an old like '67 Mustang. I was scared shitless. He probably wasn't even out of first gear idling. I don't know. I was like 7 years old. Never got into it again. We were in Canandaigua, New York. Headed home. I was recruiting for the Navy up there. We were headed home, and there was a dirt track right there between Walmart and our house. The sprint cars were there. I told my wife at the time, I said, let's go check this out. She's like, okay, let's go. Dude, they had sprint cars. They had the big block modifieds and all that stuff. Tim McCready was there. His dad, Barefoot Bob McCready, all those guys. That's the first time as an adult I saw racing. It only took once. It was like, that's it. That's all it took. I didn't know shit about a race car at the time. Still don't. But then when I got out of the Navy, I found somebody that had a car in Klamath Falls and joined them. And, you know, I've just been addicted to it ever since. And I love it. And just like you, when my daughter was born, we got away from it. And as I got older, now we're back into it. Now we jumped in with both feet. So it's like, hang on. So Travis Perry, who is Robby Sawyer? So I told you there's a lot of people.
Travis Perry.
Yeah, he's another one that will stir up a little controversy here and there. Just saying. But his boy can drive. Good Lord, his boy can drive. He is fast.
He seems to be doing pretty good.
Oh, he's doing real well for everything I see. So you were talking about being on much tighter budget than some and all that stuff. When you look at Bakersfield, Somebody asked, who was your idol in the racing world?
Me? I don't have an idol.
Okay, see, there you go. But now he got me sidetracked going on all that stuff. But when you're looking at the Bakersfield drivers, there is a stiff competition at that Bakersfield Speedway. You've got Ethan Dotson when he's there. You got Jerry Flippo. I don't know what class Jason Nation runs, but he's a name that you hear an awful. Okay. Bobby Hogue. There's probably a longer list than that. I don't know all the guys. I'm not from Bakersfield, so forgive me for not knowing all those guys.
Bakersfield is the place you go. Hobby stock, street stock, modified, sport mod. It is the place you go to see where your shit stacks up. Period.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it. Bakersfield racers dominate where they go. When the hobby stock drivers go to Merced, they win. When the sport mod guys go to Merced, they win. When they go to big races, they win. The only one that ruins that party in the past has been Bobby Hogue. Other than that, Bakersfield racers do produce some of the best racing. The A-mod deal is rough. When we have Cody Laney, okay, I'll just lay it out there. Ethan Dotson, league of his own. If you beat Ethan Dotson, it's because you fucking lucked out, okay? If you beat Ethan right now, there either wasn't a yellow, he started too far back, or the track was so dog shit that his stuff wouldn't work. At the end of the day, you're not beating Ethan one-on-one. Cody Laney is a close second. Third on back is the rest of us Saturday night racers. Myself, and I would put Bobby in there, and there's a handful of guys that are 3rd to 10th. If you were to put the top 10 best California drivers, 1 and 2 are Cody and Ethan, or Ethan and Cody. Okay, 2 to 10 are 8 different guys week in and week out. Okay, Troy Folger, Nick DiCarlo has made us look stupid in the slick, in the wet. There's guys that have done big things in the modified world that at the end of the day are still number 3 to number 10, because number 1 is not touchable, and number 2 normally still is number 2. So Ethan and Cody, without a doubt, are 2 of the best that we've seen in the state of California since the Bobby Hogue era, right? Bobby Hogue for a while was unbeatable. Bobby Hogue and Brad Pounds. I mean, there was 10 years in there where you couldn't beat Bobby Hogue and Brad Pounds.
Well, and I mentioned Jerry Flippo because Robert Baker, who sponsors him, sponsors some of our races in the show, and myself. So you saw Jerry Flippo. He won a race at Bristol this year. That had to have been a tough field over there. He won one of the main events that night. He won a main event at Boone this year. Didn't win the big show, but to win at either one of those with that many people from all over the world, that's what better year can you get than that? Is if you're going to talk about racing, is that right there? I mean, you mentioned wanting to go to Boone. I know you're not going there to run 10th. I thought you could have mentioned that. I know that, but if you could win at Boone, that's a huge. So, but
shut the door.
And I don't.
I'll be honest with you. Okay, I'm hard to impress when it comes to racing. Okay, Jerry Flippo is gonna fucking join us tonight. Look, here's Jerry Flippo right here. so here's my thing. Flippo doesn't impress me, and I'll say that because his results are not impressive. Just because he won one race here, one race there, at the end of the day, he's not impressive. I'm not impressive. Ryan McDaniels is not impressive. Bobby Hogue, Ethan Dotson, Brad Pounds. Those are impressive humans, okay? Having a good race here or there, or winning a race once in a while is not impressive. Winning a race and then running 20th or crashing your shit is not impressive. Impressive is someone like Ethan that wins 5 of 7 in Kokopah. That's
Right.
impressive.
Right. And not
Laney, Ethan Dotson, we're talking top 3 at Vegas 3 years in a row. Boone 3 years in a row. Like, we're not talking they lucked into some shit and did a good job one time.
right.
Ethan and Cody and Bobby Hogue and Brad Pounds, those are 4 impressive names. So
Yep.
for me to be impressed, I'm not impressive by any means. It doesn't impress me that a guy with an unlimited budget won a race in Bristol. That doesn't do anything, in my opinion, for me. You know what I mean?
Well, and you talked about Ethan Dotson. I watched a lot of those races when they were showing that over there. They show clips and highlights. He didn't win by a tenth of a second. Ethan didn't. He was a half a straightaway ahead of those guys. I mean, in all sincerity, and not bagging on any of those guys racing there because I don't have a leg to stand on because I haven't ever driven a modified. I don't know. But when he gets in the lead, he just pulls ahead and goes. You're talking about Cody Laney. He ran a super
fucking stupid.
Well, he ran a super late model against guys at 3 times of the equipment and was holding his own at Vegas at Duel in the Desert this year.
It wasn't 3 times the equipment. So that's where you got to remember. Cody Laney's got an unlimited budget behind his late model program. They got the best motor, brand new XR1 rockets. I think that's what his new car is. So that car was the old car was a Warrior chassis that was brand new 2 years ago. I mean, it's not. So no, that's not. And that's what's so hard is people say, okay, Pete Van Eisterdine or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
There's money behind that. You don't get to go to a race and say, well, he was underfunded, so he's impressive. That's like saying I'm impressive because I ran 3rd at the Bud Nationals to Bobby Hogue and Ethan Dotson. No, it's fucking not impressive. I got my ass kicked in equal equipment. So you're not impressive just because you competed with less money. You're not. Because let's be real here. There's guys with more money than all of us running 20th in a B main. Impressive is what somebody does on the track, regardless of the money or the financial stability behind them. Ethan Dotson in a race car. The next best thing to the Ricky Thornton that we've watched for the last 7 years. And what's included? A 4-year-old car. I mean, that's an old car. That's what people don't understand. That car, that Vanderbilt car, he's the 3rd owner of that. That's an old race car. Nobody seems to remember that. That's just a piece of shit, wore out car.
Well, and then you're talking on there, somebody says Kyle Larson impressive when you're talking about that, and then Aaron Bloom says Dotson's in a league of his own. Somebody else says get Ethan in a late model, and then somebody else said Cody's in a Longhorn. So everybody
Cody
keeps up.
Is in a Longhorn. I think that's what the new car is, not an X. Okay, it's not a fucking 2012 Victory Circle. It's in a Longhorn. You know what I mean? And as much as everybody says put Ethan in a late model, Ricky Thornton went to a late model with an unlimited budget. Okay, and Ricky Thornton's one of the most impressive people we'll ever see in our era in Saturday night racing, and he's done well, but he struggled.
Yeah,
the same. He's done well and he struggled. The Jonathan Davenport, Mike Marler, Tyler Erb. Another name that the 32 car.
Bobby Pierce.
I like the fuck out of him. Bobby Pierce. Those guys, they're impressive week in and week out. Bad nights, but for the most part, they're impressive.
Well,
would he be impressive? Yes, he would be. But he would also, like Thornton's doing, he would have good nights and bad nights.
Well, and I got to tell you, I went to the big show down there in Tony Stewart's track, Eldora.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a lot of racing out here on the West Coast, and I've seen some back in the Midwest and all that area. When you get into that is a whole, I have to say, that's a whole other level of racing in all sincerity. Watching those guys at Eldora, and as big as that track is, I think that's a whole different discipline of driving than just your regular Saturday night on an Eldora. Because I mean, they started out the night kind of up in the middle of the track, and I have video on my phone. At the end of the night, them guys were scraping the left corner off the inside wall all the way around that track. I'm sorry, that's a whole different discipline of racing when them guys can get there and just. I'm gonna tell you right now, I ain't got the balls to get that close to the wall on the outside or the inside. I always hit the inside wall, so I already learned that. I flipped the car hitting on the outside wall, so I prefer to stay down towards the bottom, a little safer. Hey, tractor tires are a little bit better than the wall and rolling. That's all I'm going to say. So, and you know, that's just in what you're saying. Different.
The racing.
Go ahead there, Robbie.
I was going to say that racing's just different where you go. So you look at a track like that, and it's been an argument in the racing world for years. Does the guy that gets elbows up and drives on a piece of shit track and he's fast compared to a guy that drives on a big black slick half mile, is he better? The guy that's better is the guy that wins on both. That's what you got to remember. There's guys, I'm going to throw me in that hat. When it's cowboys and it's elbows up and it's rodeo, okay, I'll fucking wear them out. Okay. But black and it's slick and it's smooth, unintended, I'll struggle. So, like Ethan, doesn't matter the surface, and they're going to dominate on whatever the racing surface is. So, it still goes back to, at the end of the day, you're good guys. There's a top tier of that, right? And your top tier is better than everybody else all the time, no matter the conditions, the surfaces, the rubber, hammer down, it doesn't matter. Colin Weinberger, okay? Colin Weinberger, one of the best all around dry slick to rubber. The guy can find traction when there's no traction. Put him on a track where there's absolutely elbows up at all, he's in the way. And that's where that's where it's so hard to decipher is there's guys like Ethan or Cody, man, they just excel at every racing surface. So it's hard. Well, it's hard to tear them apart.
Well, I'll stir the pot. I mean, you go back and look and compare that to NFL players. You've got a Tom Brady. Okay, he won Super Bowls at New England, and now he's went down and won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay with a completely whatever team, because Tampa Bay was not near the caliber of talent that New England was, and he still won. Just what you're saying, he's good because he went from this to this, and he still won. So there you go. He's at a different level than, and I can name any other quarterbacks that don't keep up with the NFL. But you see what I'm saying. Yep. So, hey, Jason Nason or Corey Penfold says, put Robbie in a late model. Jason Nation says, you're in the way in a sport mod and gave you the finger.
Jason B. I've raced Jason in a sport mod. I was in a Fred Ryland sport mod. He doesn't let me live it down and he beat me. But under yellow, just for the record, under yellow, I was trying to not pass him before we went yellow. So I am Jason Nation's hand signal guru. I drive the car from the grandstands, and he'll tell you that. And that night, obviously, I was racing against him, and I pulled up under yellow, and I'm like, "You've got to get to the bottom." And he's like, "Okay." And we went green, and he checked out from me.
No, see, there you go. You're giving coaching lessons on the track. There you go. There's a true racer. He's helping his competition beat him.
That money went back into our bank account if I won it and get any. So I needed him to win that night. But he got my ass after we went green.
Oh, and he beat you, so you'll never live that down now, right? So
I'll never live down the fact that he hopped in my car one night and went fast time at Merced last year.
So what he say to you, driving your car too slow? He just had to show you how to get it done, right?
I was helping somebody, and we were qualifying that night, and I came back to jump in my car for qualifying, and he was in it, strapped in the car, and we were just qualifying for money. That's it, $200. Doug Lockwood.
Yep.
Doug Lockwood's best promoter in California. And in my car, and I'm like, fuck it, go. I don't care. And he goes, I think your transmission's broke. And I look down at the pedals on the ground, and I'm like, I look under the car, and the clutch line was hanging. I just hot lapped. So it must have broke right when I pulled in. I said, we pushed him back, and I said, just put it in gear, hit the start button, and go. Never driven my car, ever. Going out there, and there's 17 modifieds, Jerry, Flippo, everybody from Bakersfield. Fast time. Jason was fast time in my car. And he sets fast time, $200. Never even driven an A-Mod. I was driven an A-Mod a couple times, but goofing around. But got in my car, never turned a lap, and he was fast time, qualified fast time, and it was probably one of the cooler things. There's a live video on Facebook that's probably the most exciting. I get happy for my friends, so I was fucking stoked for him. I was screaming and shit. It was cool.
Yeah. Well, and I got to tell you, I met Jason down there the night you ran Lyle's car, and he strikes me as another one that's got the same attitude at the racetrack you do. He doesn't look like he's happy all night long till afterwards when you're having a beer. I'm not saying that in a bad way.
He doesn't even drink.
Yeah. So
Jason doesn't need to race. Jason could care less if he races or not. He's not like he's not an addict. Okay, so he was like, yep, I'll sell my car. He would rather race with his kids, where I wouldn't. I'm not going to sell my shit so my kids can race. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that dad. I'm not that guy. So if my kids race, then I fucking race. If I don't get to race, nobody's racing. So where he's not like that, he's a dad before he's himself. He's not selfish. I'm selfish. So he just raced because it's something to do. It's not something that he craves day in and day out. It was something to do. He was good at it, and he was good at it. He did a really great job. But he could care less if he ever gets back in a race car. I think he'd rather race with his kids and stuff.
Yeah. Says, well, Robby, it's been fun tonight listening to you talk. I will miss not seeing you on and off the track when you retire. Thanks for the memory. P.S. Tell Ren I said hi. Facebook, JB out. We got to give him some credit on that. So there you go. So there you go. That's from JB. Hey, we got to hit one of our.
That's my wife. That's my wife, Ren.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. So there you go. So, but anyway, I'm gonna run an ad for Jay here real quick since he's sponsoring a lot of this too.
Thank you, Jerry Bryant of Jay's Mobile Welding and Fabrication, for all you do to support the Tri-State Pro Stock Series and myself. Jay is the title sponsor this year for the Tri-State Pro Stock Series. Jay owns a welding and fabrication business in Sacramento, California, can do all kinds of welding. If you need some welding repairs done in your car at the track, he usually has a welder available in his track. He also provides sheet metal to racers, so if you need any of these services, contact Jay at Jay's Mobile Welding and Fabrication.
All right, and I'm going to let Robby have it here to talk and thank all of his sponsors, because I know he's got a list of them, and I know he's kind of doing a Kenny Wallace thing, giving a shout out to all of his sponsors this year. So I'm going to turn the floor over to that so you can do all
that. You just follow my Facebook, and I'm thanking my sponsors individually and going through them. And everybody on my car is a local sponsor, so it's been a pretty good deal. And you guys just add me. Well, and it's probably easier. I got a lot of great sponsors, and I'm happy for them. I've had a lot of great over the year. You know, we've had hundreds of sponsors and people that come on board, and a bunch that have stuck with us over the years, and not one is more important than the others. And if you had me on Facebook, I'll accept it, and you'll see some of the cool old photos we're posting. And at the end of the day, I've got people that have walked into my pit and handed me a $20 bill before. I've had a guy walk in and hand me 20, 30, 40 bucks. Everybody that's ever bought a shirt from us, and those are, in my opinion, those are people that have supported us, and they're as great as the people that have given us $10,000. So I'm fortunate for everybody that's ever supported my racing in any way, even if it's coming to the races and buying a pass into the stands and cheering me on. I mean, it's pretty awesome to see the people that back my racing. I mean, majority of them have never even met me and come down in the pits and tell me how they've been watching me race for years, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, then that's when I was rodeoing on the East Coast and riding bulls. I'm going to tell you, the coolest thing for me is I had a lot of fun doing it. I was never a professional at it, had fun. The coolest thing I ever went to was in Sumter, South Carolina. A group of about 5 little kids come up and ask for you to sign their or autograph their little thing. Dude, I'm like, I'm the dude that was hanging upside down, getting beat off on the ground, and you want me to fucking sign that? That's pretty cool. It's like, that's what it's all about. It's not about, somebody's looking up to what you're doing, and I'm sure you kind of are that way too when kids come up and sign stuff. And Troy Bernhardt says, Robby seems like the Kyle Busch of Bakersfield, LOL. So, guess that's a good thing, right?
Neither one of us win anymore.
Yeah. Aaron Bloom, yes, he said the number one tracker event you haven't attended that you want to. He did start off the show and mention Boone specifically if you missed it. So I would assume that that's probably one that you said you've always.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. If I had it my way, I would run the Super National this year, and I would run the Dome. And if I could run the Dome, look at this guy. It's my super fan. You got your Hey Dudes on? I do got my Hey Dudes on. I got my Hey Dudes on, so I'm ready. If I could run are you guys ready to play some cards? All right. Deal them. Deal them out.
Well, we'll end it right here. So.
If I could run the Dome and end at the Dome, I'd be happy as shit. The Dome's kind of in my wheelhouse. It's a place where money doesn't matter. So the Dome is on my list this year. I don't know how realistic that is, but if I could end at the Dome this year, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Just to say I did it.
So, and then Joe Peterson, you know him, says, I'm just starting my announcing career, and all these drivers are now retiring. Looking forward to seeing you down at Merced for 2022. So that seems like a pretty high note to end it on, and we'll end it here so he can go play cards and give the little kid his room back so he can go to bed. So thanks for your time, Robby, and hang tight.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on here and being a supporter of local racing, man. When it comes down to it, anybody that knows me, I am 100% about the Saturday night racing. I live for it. I mean, like I told you, I love it. So it's awesome to see people like you showing a passion that I share as well. So thank you for having me on.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks, and hang tight when we end it here.